You're listening to the Dan Bongino Show. Dan, 24/7 at Bongino.com.
Lisa Booth, host of The Truth with Lisa Booth, filling in for Dan Bongino. And we're coming to a close here. One thing, we're going to take one more question, but I want to let everyone know, even though everything is depressing right now and there's a lot on our minds, let's not let them take our joy and our happiness and our time with our family and our time with our friends and the time this weekend over the Labor Day weekend where we can have fun, we can go out, we can spend time with the people we love. Let's not let them take that from us. Screw these people. We're still going to find joy in life. We're still going to live a life to the fullest, even knowing the threat that we're facing with this tyrant in office. We're still going to live life. I want to bring David on and get his thoughts. David, what are your thoughts on what you heard last night and what you're hearing on the show?
Well, I'm a military vet, and every time I listen to Biden, he just boils my blood. To begin with, MAGA, that should be referred to as Make America Great Again. Drop the MAGA stuff. Let's call it what it is. We're just here to make it great again. And also, I wish everybody would quit referring to the people in Washington as leaders. They're not leaders. They're representatives. They're there to represent us, and they have forgotten that. They don't represent anybody but their party. And let's get back to representing the people.
Actually, David, I love that you said that. I think that's such a good point. You're right. They're supposed to be representatives of us. Our government is supposed to serve us, right? We're supposed to be the ones in charge, not be afraid of our own government. And thank you for your service, sir. I really appreciate that. David, thanks for joining us. We've got LaDonna on the phone as well. LaDonna, your thoughts on last night and everything that's really transpired in the past few hours. It's not even been 24 hours yet. What are your thoughts?
All I wanted to say is my husband was a Marine, my son is a Marine, and my youngest son is in the Navy. And forget how I feel. Think about those poor Marines standing behind him, how they felt. It's absolutely a disgrace.
No, that's such a good point. I mean, how does that, as a military mother, that's gotta hurt your heart to see that. How does that make you feel?
They talk about how they're trying to woke the military with the pronouns and all this. They're trying to make an army to work for him.
Yeah.
He's got mush for brains. I'm more afraid of who's pulling the strings behind him. President Trump, he tweeted, the man has late stage dementia. But there's enough of old Joe in there that must be evil enough to give that speech.
Oh, I agree, LaDonna, and I appreciate all your family members who are serving and have served. So, LaDonna, thanks so much for calling in to Dan's show. I appreciate your time. And that's it for us. Lisa Booth, host of The Truth with Lisa Booth. Please go check out my podcast. I worked really hard to put it together. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And make sure to go check out Dan's podcast as well. He talks about what he saw and heard last night. You're not going to want to miss that as well. Thanks so much for joining the show. It's an honor to be filling in for Dan. I hope everyone has an amazing Labor Day weekend. Please get out and enjoy yourselves. God bless.
Selling your St. Louis area home is a big deal. It's one of the biggest financial transactions you will ever make. In St. Louis, call Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. That's Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She'll do a great job for you. Gloria has mastered the home selling process to help you maximize the sale of your home in this crazy seller's market. Why, Miss Lou? Gloria already has the buyers, thousands of them looking for homes in your neighborhood and your price range. Fact is, with Gloria Lou, your home may already be sold. And while most agents make big promises, Gloria will sell your home at the agreed price and time frame, or she will buy it, guaranteed in writing. So please call Gloria Lou today, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com, GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
In 2017, our daughter Angelica Hale remarkably sang her way to the finals, but the real miracle is that she even made it to the stage.
When she was 4 years old, she developed an infection in her lungs. We didn't know what happened or why she was suddenly so sick. Thankfully, her doctor knew. It was sepsis.
Sepsis is the body's overwhelming response to infection.
and requires urgent medical attention.
We want to help others recognize sepsis so they can get the treatment they need fast. When it comes to sepsis, remember, it's about time. Watch for T. Temperature. It could be higher or lower than normal. I. Infection. You may have signs and symptoms of an infection. M. Mental decline. You could feel confused, sleepy, or be difficult to rouse. E. Feeling extremely ill. You could have severe pain or discomfort.
Take the time now to learn more at sepsis.org.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Many Americans traveling for Labor Day holiday weekend. Correspondent Rita Foley reports on gas prices.
Gas is $3.80 a gallon today. That's down 6 cents in a week, but up 62 cents from a year ago. The highest prices are in the West. It's $5.24 in California. The lowest prices are in the South and parts of the Midwest. It's $3.32 in Mississippi. The AAA says prices are falling at the pump because oil prices are falling. But you can save more money, says the AAA, by slowing down and driving the speed limit. Another tip, avoid the jackrabbit start and hard acceleration. Those really consume gas. I'm Rita Foley.
Also at townhall.com, President Biden argues that American democracy is under assault, and he blames Donald Trump and his supporters. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In a speech from outside Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the president issued a warning.
Equality and democracy are under assault.
And he didn't mince words.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Mr. Biden appealed to the nation to remain optimistic and have the courage and commitment to preserve American democracy. In a pre-speech rebuttal, House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy accused the president of trying to disparage hard-working Americans. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And former Republican Congressman J.D. Hayworth says the president's primetime address was a blatant political move.
The speech tonight is a campaign speech, a corrosive campaign speech that will not win votes, but will lose Mr. Biden any opportunity at a spot of fond remembrance in American history.
Congressman J.D. Hayworth. More at townhall.com.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I'm still mad at timeshare companies. For over a decade, I've been fighting to clean up the timeshare industry by getting folks out of bad timeshares. But after all those battles, I'm still asked, how do they sell timeshares for $25,000 when they're available online for only $1? Here's how they do it. They lie. They tell you things like, timeshare is a great investment. You can go anywhere, anytime, or your maintenance fees will never go up. Everything they do to get you to sign a timeshare agreement is part of a well-planned trap. If you've ever been held hostage at a timeshare presentation and bought, Wesley Financial Group is here to help. To date, we've canceled timeshares for over 30,000 families. And I guarantee you this, we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare cancellation guide. 800-478-7733. That's 800-478-7733. 800-478-7733.
News, analysis, opinion.
The affidavit.
Release the redacted document to the public.
We're not going to get real answers to a lot of this until the Republicans take the majority back.
This is News Talk STL.
Who told the Department of Justice what from the inside?
A lot of questions that are unanswered at this point.
We can afford to cancel a student debt.
There's no such thing as loan cancellation. It's just a matter of who pays it.
It's basically trying to buy votes.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. FEMA announced they are opening a disaster recovery center in O'Fallon, Missouri in response to the July flooding. This new location is set at the O'Fallon Municipal Center at 100 North Main Street. Because of continued Metrolink delays due to damage from flash flooding, Metro Transit is again revamping its schedule for the light rail system. Beginning Monday, Blue Line trains will only operate between the Shrewsbury-Lansdowne I-44 and Forest Park to Bolivar stations until further notice. The St. Louis Zoo announced they had to euthanize a 210-pound, 18-foot-long anaconda named J-Lo due to a severe tumor. J-Lo had been with the zoo since 2010 and was likely over 20 years old. Walking tickets for Winter Wonderland at Tilly's Park go on sale September 7th at 10 a.m. This will be the 38th season of Winter Wonderland, and it will open on November 18th. Aldi will be opening a new store in Twin Oaks in the 1100 block of Merrimack Station Road. The new store will officially open at 9 a.m. on September 8th. And in sports, the Cardinals welcome the Cubs to Busch for a 3-game series. Tonight's game starts at 7:15 p.m. And the Mizzou men's football team beat Louisiana Tech in Columbia last night, 52-24, in the first game of the season. Next up, the Tigers head to Kansas State to face the Wildcats on September 10th. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
We need to know. This week on News Talk STL.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent extremism.
Called half the country fascist.
The national threat of fentanyl use.
What is this president doing about it? News, analysis, opinion.
Defund the police! Democrats support defunding the police.
It's fund the police.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
The hypocrisy of the left is on full display.
And always streaming at newstalkstl.com. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your first alert forecast. Cloudy skies this afternoon with scattered showers, the high 83. Scattered showers and a few thunderstorms possible overnight as we drop to 68. And for Saturday, mostly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers and storms and an afternoon high of 84. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
These Democrats and liberals will stop at nothing.
News, analysis, and opinion.
What's going on?
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent extremism.
Called half the country fascist and extremist.
We're in a battle for the soul of this nation.
The government's August employment report
Updated boosters.
We're not going to eradicate COVID-19. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh!
Holy moly. What a busy day.
Insane.
When I woke up this morning, when I was thinking about this show, I honestly, obviously, I had a whole lot of reaction
to
the president's speech last night. But my initial thoughts about today's show was we'll talk about the president, and we'll do that, of course. But it's Friday. It's the Friday before Labor Day. And, you know, on Fridays already, every Friday, we have something that we call Friday Fun Time. And we try to have a little bit of fun, you know, even throughout the week here on Colombo and Katie, but especially on Fridays. Like, make a point to lighten it up and have fun. And I thought, you know what? Going into a 3-day weekend, a lot of people are going to be traveling, hopefully spending some time outside on the unofficial end of the summer. Let's just make it
we'll just make it goofy.
Let's get the hard stuff out of the way. Let's get all the president junk out of the way, you know, in the first couple of segments, and then let's lighten it up and go into the weekend. Nope. There is so
not happening.
Much happening today. We'll try. I promise we'll try to have a little Friday fun time at the end of the show, but there is just
So much.
So much going on, so much to talk about. Obviously, we are going to react to the president's speech last night, which made me physically angry. Watching it made me physically angry. It was in one of my notes, and I'll kind of go through some of my notes because it's funny to I took my notes, chronologically. So as I was watching the speech, so you kind of go on a little bit of a ride of how my mind, like how I was reacting blow by blow with the president. If I read my notes in order. But one of my notes was, this is a masterclass in gaslighting.
Oh yeah.
Everything that they do, everything that the progressive left has done to this country and continues to do to this country, the president last night tried to say all of those things are what people on the right do. And is why, and these are all the things that are wrong with the country, which he's right about. But he said it was the Republicans that are doing all of them, not his party. It
One
was
of the dumbest speeches I've ever heard.
It was gaslight. It was the dictionary definition of gaslighting, in my opinion. So, of course, we're going to react to that about an hour from now. What a perfect day to go to the White House and talk to Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner. Christian is a regular on the show, joins us every week. And obviously, a lot happened today, in reaction, all the fallout from last night's speech. They did have a press briefing today. Karine Jean-Pierre doubled down on all the things the president said. Christian Daytalk was at that press briefing, so we're going to talk to him and get the latest from Washington, D.C. as the fallout of this continues. So that's a little less than an hour from now, just after 3 o'clock. Also, it is Friday afternoon. It is about to be a holiday weekend that I hope you are able to enjoy, hopefully unplug and get away and have an extra day or two off. So the weekend forecast is always important on Fridays, but this one especially important. So like we do every Friday at about 2:45, we will bring you the weekend forecast with Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from our friends over at KMOV Channel 4. So we got you covered there. In the next segment, in about 15 minutes from now, 10 or 15 minutes from now, we're going to talk to Joe Pags. What a perfect day.
Love him.
To have Joe Pags on with us. Of course, Joe Pags Show, we carry that nationally syndicated show right here on News Talk STL. It happens right after the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, right after the O'Reilly update. Tim Jones and Chris Arp end at 6:45. O'Reilly update 6:45 to 7, and at 7 o'clock every night here on News Talk STL, we bring you the Joe Pags Show.
He's great.
What a perfect day to have Joe Pags on to react to the speech last night and just talk to him about everything else happening across the country. And then with all this national news happening, if that wasn't enough, major news, big headline here locally. Of course, it's been the news surrounding the St. Louis County executive race has been, dramatic. And there was a big, upset on election night, on primary election night. Shamed Dogan, who was the person that had the most name recognition, that was running for the Republicans, that everybody thought might have an outside chance at beating Sam Page, loses to Catherine Penner, a virtual unknown. And then ever since that race has happened, it's been, who is Catherine Penner, and getting to know her and getting to figure out what's going on. And then she was going to step away and not run anymore, even though she won the primary, and then she was going to stay. And now again today, the breaking news from just a couple hours ago, Catherine Penner has officially dropped out of the St. Louis County executive race, leaving nobody in the Republican spot to take on Sam Page in November. So we're going to start right there, and thankful that our buddy Mark Harder from the St. Louis County Council, of course, you hear him regular with Vic Porcelli, and been on all the shows here at News Talk STL many times. And Mark, really appreciate you in the last second pinch hitting and jumping in here and putting in a little overtime with us on a day where of all the headlines that I was prepared for, I was prepared to talk about a lot today, but I didn't see this one coming. So really appreciate you coming on and kind of filling us in on this situation. Were you as surprised as I was, or did you feel like this was we were heading this direction, Mark?
Well, good to speak to you guys today. Yes, I saw this coming. We've been looking at this for about 2 to 3 weeks since right after the primary. We met with Miss Pinner, a number of us, and tried to find out who she is, what she's about, what she has planned, how can we help her, things like that. And the longer we got to know her, we could tell that she did not have much of a plan to win this election. So a lot of other people gave her feedback along the way, and she's been, yes, I'm in, no, I'm not, yes, I'm in, no, I'm not. And so today, finally, she made it official that she wants to be off the ballot.
Mark, I anchored our coverage on election night, on primary election night. And I remember talking to you that night. You called in as this was all unfolding. And this was one of the most shocking results of that night, that Catherine Penner, a virtual unknown, won that primary over Shamed Dogan. And so my question for you is, and I know we were reacting, in real time that night. Did Catherine really even, do you think she was as surprised as everybody else that she won? Like after she won, was it like, I can't believe that this is happening. And now I have to run a general election race against Sam Page and the spotlight is going to be on. Like, is she like, I was part of this, like just being overwhelmed by the whole thing in general, or were there other factors at play and that's not it?
Those are good questions. I think she was overwhelmed from the start. I don't think she thought she would win, and then suddenly, she won, and now she had to start to put together a plan, and that was, 3 weeks ago, and she's not moved very far in the last 3 weeks, and we've been frustrated with it because we want to get a candidate to run against Sam Page. We want a candidate that will win and that will take advice from people that have won successful campaigns throughout this region and the state, for that matter. And she didn't want to take a lot of advice. So, but she won fair and square. So there's nothing the party could do. We just had to wait for her to make up her mind. And she spent the last 2 weeks saying she's in, she's out. And but there's been no work on any kind of campaign in the meantime. So we're now a little bit more than 60 days away from this election. We can, as a party, find somebody and put them on the ballot. We've got 2 weeks to do that. But once that 2 weeks expires and we can't find anybody that wants to do it, then there will be a blank spot on the ballot going into November.
So I'm sure we'll talk to you over the coming days, and especially over the next couple of weeks as the search for this candidate is on. But before we run out of time in this segment, Renee Artman, who is the chair of the St. Louis County Republican Party, said basically exactly what you just said when this happened, when Catherine Penner officially filed her motion today in St. Louis County Court, having her name taken off the ballot for St. Louis County executive, the election. Renee Artman said, "I wish Catherine nothing but the best, and now we have to find a candidate." Mark, we already know how difficult it is for a Republican. You know, even more than anybody, what a stiff test that is for any Republican running in St. Louis County, let alone against somebody like Sam Page and all of the sensationalism and spotlights and hot seat and all that comes along with that. How the hell do you find a candidate in 2 weeks that is ready for that task? You don't want to just put somebody out there. You want to fight. You want to put somebody up there that's got a fighting chance. But what a difficult task you guys are now faced with to try to find a candidate. Where do you even start that process, Mark?
Well, we put the word out. We've been looking at this ever since that first meeting with Ms. Penner. We've been looking at, Plan B and talking to people. People have been talking with us saying, yeah, I might do it. Yeah, if all the tea leaves are right, I'll do it, kind of thing. And we hope that somebody will come forward and make up their mind. We have a few people that we've been talking to that are, looking at all their options. It's tough, even if you had 6 months on either party. And the Democrats have had the same problem over the years as well. I mean, they changed a lot of people down in the city because of situations where somebody's indicted or somebody is, drops out of a race, and then they stick somebody's brother-in-law in that race and run them, whether it's a statewide or citywide or whatever it may be. So it's happened more to the Democrats than the Republicans, but we'll get through it. There is a mechanism to do that. And I'm sure there's somebody listening to your show right now that will want to give it a try. And if they do, please have them call me. We'd be happy to sit down and kind of go over the universe and the horizon of what this would look like. And we've got some money folks that want to put some money behind a candidate in this short notice. And so we just need somebody that understands what it's going to be to run this quick and do things in a much faster fashion than they would if they registered 6-8 months ago. So
for 44 years,
we're
Mark,
optimistic.
For 44 years, I was a St. Louis County citizen, and now for the last 3 months of my life is the first time I'm not, and this was my chance.
This was your chance,
If
Tony.
I would have still been,
Come on.
I could have been there.
It's all your fault, actually, Tony.
In all seriousness,
You
Mark,
should have talked to me 6 months ago.
I know, right?
Mark.
I know, right? In all seriousness, last question. We know that the party has to appoint somebody to run for this, to take her place on the ballot. It cannot be Shamed Dogan, correct? And because he lost the primary and it's the sore loser law. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then also, are there any other restrictions other than the obvious ones of being a St. Louis County citizen and resident and all of that stuff? Is there anybody else besides Shamed who would not be able to be appointed?
Well, there is the regular statutory requirements. You have to live in the county for a year prior to the election. You have to consider that if you do win and you have a job, you're going to have to give up that job because we forced Sam Page to do that. So a lot of people are not in a position
Rightfully
to do that.
so. Yeah.
You've got to raise a lot of money. You've got to put yourself out there. You got to be a quick study to understand what's been going on and what the future looks like. There's a lot of things to consider here, but we had a lot of good candidates in the primary, and unfortunately, the way I understand it under state law, that those folks can't move into another ballot position because they were on this last go around. Now, if they wait 2 years, they could run. They can't run for county executive because that won't come up for another 4 years. Mm-hmm. But there's other jobs they can run for as well. But that limits our pool of people. And but a lot of this is timing, and a lot of people can't make these kind of big decisions in a very short period of time. And I understand that. We've never been here before, and we're going to manage it the best we can.
Yeah, what a tough position to be in, Mark. We really appreciate you stepping away from your day and giving us some extra time on very short notice to update us on this situation. And I am sure that we will be talking to you again very soon in the coming days and weeks as you go through this process and try to identify this candidate and then, have somebody to take on Sam Page in the November general election. Mark, again, really appreciate your time and have a great Labor Day weekend, my friend.
Okay, you too.
Thank you. Mark Carter from the St. Louis County Council. What a crazy development today.
That is insane. I also just want to say, it's crazy that she actually wants to take her name off the ballot. It's crazy that she's actually out of the race.
Yeah.
But the back and forth nature of what she's been doing that might be the most crazy part.
Yeah.
That is the part that's
it just complicates the whole thing even more.
It does.
Because is she or isn't she? And then when even if she stays in and she's indicated once or twice that she was going to drop out, that why would you want to vote for somebody who's
wishy-washy?
Trying to yeah, exactly.
Either you're all in or you're not.
Yeah. It's a tough position for St. Louis County Republicans to be in now to try to find this person to replace Catherine Penner on the November ballot to take on Sam Page. But we'll be all over that story as news develops. I'm sure Tim Jones and Chris Arps will have more to talk about on that situation throughout the afternoon. And we need to take a quick first break here. And when we get back, we are going to talk to Joe Pags. Joe Pags is going to join us as we react to the fallout from President Biden's speech last night. We'll talk to him about that and more on Colombo and Katie. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com. Follow Katie Fitzpatrick on Twitter at KFitzTalks.
We could change the world in just
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
distrust of the federal government is an all-time high.
Executing a search warrant on a former president has never been done before.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store. I've talked to you about how many great products and services that they have and how they can help you in so many different areas around the house. And that has been so true for me lately. They have all the products, if you're working outside in the lawn or garden, products and services to help you out. Not only do they have all the products like the grass seed and the fertilizers and everything that you need to help have success growing things, but they have services like soil testing. You can have the best fertilizer, you can have the best grass seed, you can take the best care of all of it as possible, but if you don't have the right dirt, the right soil to grow things in, it's not going to work out for you. So they can help you with that. Of course, they can help you across the board with animal needs. If you care for animals in any way, farm livestock to the family dog, they've got you covered there. They've got other services like they will fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. The Old Town Country Store Farmers Co-op has been in the same location in historic St. Peter's on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid Rivers Mall Drive for over 100 years. They have been servicing the area. If you've never been into the Old Town Country Store or it's been a while, go out there and check them out. It's one of my favorite things, especially being right by our new house, to be able to take advantage of all the great products and services that they have out there. So visit them in person on 2nd Street in historic St. Peter's, right behind the QT at 70 Mid Rivers Mall Drive, or online at oldtowncountrystore.com.
The Range St. Louis West is Missouri's best indoor shooting range. With 20 climate-controlled lanes, over 70 firearms available to rent, and the best staff in the business, you're guaranteed to enjoy every minute of your time with us. Our impressive showroom is full of the latest and greatest offerings from the best manufacturers in the business. Need an optic, spare magazines, holster, or any other accessory? Let our professional staff help you find exactly what you need and get it installed for you. Mention you heard us on News Talk STL and save $100 on your membership and enjoy even more goodies. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
Stay top of mind with your customers, stand out from the competition, and drive productivity with a podcast for your business from Epic STL Podcasts. Log on to newstalkstl.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Join Chris, Katie, and I for a fantastic Friday featuring Zach Smith at 4:25 on Mar-a-Lago Madness, Dr. Aaron Hedlund at 5:25 on the coming Biden recession.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Walks in the door, never see. She's the type of beauty they all want to be. She uses them all, the girls and the boys. To her, they're just her personal choice.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo. My partner is Katie Fitzpatrick. In just a moment, we are going to talk to Joe Pags. Of course, the Joe Pags Show is on News Talk STL every night at 7 o'clock, right after the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show ends at 6:45. And then there's the 15-minute Bill O'Reilly update from 6:45 to 7. And then Joe Pags is on the air here at News Talk STL every night. And what a perfect night to get him on the show, a perfect day to get him on the show with us after the president's speech last night. So we'll be talking to Joe in just a moment. I want to remind you in the meantime about our podcast and about our new YouTube channel. So not only can you stream a News Talk STL and stream Colombo and Katie every single day on our app and on our website. Of course, you can listen on 101.9 FM and 94.1 FM. It's funny because I really have to say that because people are still discovering, especially 94.1 all the time. I meet people that listen on 101.9, but don't realize that we're also on 94.1 for especially our listeners out in St. Charles County, out west. 94.1 is the station to tune into. But you can also download our podcast so you never miss any episode of the show. We are available on just about every podcast platform. So Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, all of those places, whatever your favorite podcast platform is, you can subscribe to Colombo and Katie, and you can then make sure that you never miss any shows. And we are also now back on YouTube, brand new development this week. And our YouTube channels are now like our podcast. We don't have a station YouTube channel. We have individual show YouTube channels. So you can subscribe to the Colombo and Katie YouTube channel and the Tim Jones and Chris Arps YouTube channel and Mike and Vic. And another great way to make sure that you don't miss anything. And we do have some fun content coming to those YouTube channels as well. You'll be able to watch the show every day, stream live, watch the live stream of the show every day. And just like you can on Facebook and Rumble. But we'll also be putting additional content there on our show YouTube channel. So got it? All of those ways. So
everything.
Whatever
got it
way
all.
you consume media, we are there,
We're there
for you. So make sure you are checking all of that out. Joe Pags will be joining us in a moment. What was first of all, did you watch the speech live last night?
I didn't watch it live. I watched it this morning.
Okay.
So I watched it this morning while I was getting ready for work. And the first thing that I thought was the optics of it before the speaking even began, the optics of what we saw last night with the red glow from coming up from behind President Biden, the camera shot, the whole 9 yards. It was very creepy to me.
Yes, and it set the tone in a very creepy way. There's Marine groups, veterans groups have reached out with their concerns about the way that the members of the Marine were stationed behind the president and that backlit glow. I called it, this is a kind of a nerdy reference, but it looked like it was Sith red. It looked like a Star Wars.
It did.
It looked like a scene from Star Wars.
It did.
You know, like it looked like Emperor Palpatine
making
the
a
Ministry of
speech.
Truth is giving a speech. And so many things to address about this speech as we go through the show today. And to help us do that, as we mentioned, joining us now on the phone is the great Joe Pags. You can hear every night at 7:00 here on News Talk STL. Joining us this afternoon on Colombo and Katie. Joe, thank you so much for your time, especially on a crazy busy day like this. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. How's it going?
Hey, Tony, my pleasure. You know, it is a crazy busy day. And listen, I didn't think I'd live to see Hitler again, but I'm pretty sure I watched him last night. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
What was happening there? First of as Katie and I were just saying, just the optics of it, just that setup. I mean, it was the most authoritarian scene you could possibly set up. And then as I'm looking at my notes that I took throughout the speech last night, I at one point wrote, this is a masterclass in gaslighting, because all the things that he's accusing Republicans and people on the right of doing, using violence in politics and questioning the results of an election and wanting to take away your rights and have a authoritarian government. These are the things that the progressive left have been working hard to put in place over the last couple of years. And now suddenly the president is up there saying that all these things are terrible and evil, but it's not his party that's doing it. It's the Republicans that are doing it. It was gaslighting at its finest. What were your thoughts as you watched this speech unfold last night?
Well, we saw the lead up to it for the past couple of days, to be honest with you, and actually maybe for the past week or so. They've been saying MAGA Republicans like that's somehow bad. They were saying things like semi-fascist, which is not a thing. Either you're a fascist or you're not. You can't be a little bit pregnant. So I'm not really sure what that whole story is about either. He kept on talking about how it's somehow a threat to our democracy. I want to educate people who are listening who may not listen often, and you should, because this is a great show that you do. We are not a democracy. We're a representative republic, and that's important because a democracy would mean that every single bill that came up for a vote, every American would vote on it. It's not. We elect people that represent our views, our community, our district, our state, and we send them to Washington where they should go there temporarily, vote on crap, and then come back home. So we're not a democracy, and keep on continuing to say that it's a threat to our democracy doesn't make any sense. MAGA Republican, I think that nobody told Joe what MAGA means. And I think Donald Trump Jr. says MAGA. So either way, it's Make America Great Again. Are you really against making America great? If so, why? What is it about a great America that's a threat to Joe Biden? And to in one side of his mouth say, I want to unify, bring everybody together, all sides, all for one for all, democracy is great. And then immediately say 74 million of you that voted for that MAGA guy are the enemy of democracy. Again, I literally thought I was seeing Mussolini and Hitler and Stalin reincarnated last night. And I don't think old Joe had any clue what he was saying. But whoever wrote it and whoever set up that blood red background has to have their brain examined. Because even if you were sort of on the fence, you were like, maybe I'm a Biden guy. You watch that and you went, I'm not going to have, the dictator in chief continue. I think you probably solidified the base for Trump, to be honest.
Joe, when we look at something like the president speaking at prime time, we usually gather that it's going to be something of note. It's going to be something important, whether it be withdrawing from Afghanistan or making a policy change or enacting something that's going to affect every single American. When you say the president is going to be speaking during prime time, everybody kind of shuts up and listens because we think it's going to be something very effective. This was just a campaign speech. So I'm wondering, what was the purpose of this to begin with?
Katie, great question. The purpose of it was that in November, the Democrats are going to lose so badly that they'll probably lose the House by 50 seats and maybe even lose the Senate that nobody thought could happen. And what they said, the brain trust of the Obamas, Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, Ron Klain, these people, because Biden didn't know what he's doing. Biden doesn't know that we left Afghanistan yet. So it's not him. It's the people behind the scenes. They know that they have no chance of winning in November unless they vilify the other side. So painting with a broad brush, those people that you think you're going to vote for, those people that you're considering putting in power are so bad that if you put them in power, your democracy will be gone. You'll have no democratic abilities in this country to live freely and liberated again. I think that was the only objective. Now, to your point, yes, normally all the networks shut down. The president's going to speak. He's from the Oval Office, my fellow Americans, and he's going to give some great righteous speech to uplift all of us. Well, the networks didn't even cover it. ABC, NBC, and CBS didn't put it on because they knew what this was going to be. And it blew my mind that Breonna Keeler, I think it's pronounced Keeler, I don't watch CNN, but she's a CNN anchor or a host who last night tweeted, I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, the visual wasn't so great with the military behind Joe Biden in a clearly political speech. So even CNN's turning on him. So it was a great question. The purpose last night was to hope that we could at least make the other side look so bad that they won't beat us as badly as they're going to in November. I think that's what it was.
And I question, Joe, how effective was it? Does it even work? Because, like, just me personally, I am a libertarian that would rather see a Ron DeSantis run than a Donald Trump run. So, like, I not necessarily the ultra MAGA Trumper that he's trying to target, but I felt very targeted in that I felt like he was personally attacking me. I know he tries to make that, he desperately tries to make that difference and say, oh, I'm not talking about all Republicans. I'm talking about a small percentage, the ultra MAGA. But then he attacks everybody that has a conservative bone in their body in that speech. And my question for you is, did it work? Does that work? Does it help? They got to think it does. They got to think that this is how they start to turn the tide and maybe stop the bleeding and save some seats in November. But I feel like it's so misguided that this country has spoken, even in Democratic areas, that the progressive left, the extreme left movement is not something that even Democrats are embracing anymore. So Does this even work as far as a political strategy, in your opinion?
Well, yeah. I mean, you answered your own question. It worked very well. You're no longer on the fence about Trump. You'd vote for Trump twice tomorrow if you could. I mean, the people who are
Doesn't
on
work
the
for
fence,
Democrats.
no. It absolutely was extremely effective for our side.
Yeah, no
what
doubt
he
about
did
that.
last night was he galvanized people. You and I are both libertarians. I'm probably more of a Trump guy than you are. I'm certainly a conservative, but you and I now are galvanized. You and I will go together to the polls and do anything we can to vote this authoritarian garbage that we saw last night out of office. We don't want him to have power. We don't want the people that are pulling his puppet strings to have the ability to continue the path that they're on with an open border, disgusting policies when it came to COVID mandates, when it came to masking, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to gasoline, getting rid of fossil fuels. Hey, everybody should drive an EV, but California yesterday asked people to not charge their EVs because they don't have enough power. So we don't want this in Washington anymore. And the way that you get a hold of this and rein it back is you give the House and the Senate back to the Republican side, whether they're MAGA conservatives or not, MAGA Republicans or not, or just center right a little bit. It's got to be exponentially better than what we saw last night. He last night ruined any chances Democrats had of winning more seats in November. I truly believe that with that blood red background, military there in a threatening stance, as if you argue with this guy, we're going to take you out. I think he galvanized our side, and I think more people came to our side because of it. I truly believe that.
So, Joe, that was actually going to be my last question. We're almost out of time talking to Joe Pags, but it's been pretty common belief. The numbers, are up for debate, but that the Republicans will almost certainly take back the House. After that speech last night, and then just looking at the general path to November, last question: do you think that that the right is even bolstered now more? And do you predict that they will take back the United States Senate as well as the House?
Well, I think they're going to get the House back very, very easily. Right now, it's a 50-50 Senate. Why the Republicans didn't fight to get a Manchin over to their side to caucus with them to make it 51-49 and then have power is beyond me. We need Mitch McConnell to not be the leader. But I do think that the Senate has a very good chance now, maybe a better chance because of last night. And let me say this. I thought you were going to go here, and maybe you would have had we had more time. But I think that they'll impeach Merrick Garland almost immediately. I think they'll impeach Joe Biden on Afghanistan, on his COVID mandates, on the speech he made last night that basically made 74 million Americans his enemy. I think that there's going to be a lot of impeachment, a lot of oversight, a lot of hearings if the Republicans just get the House back. But to answer your question directly, I think there's a much better chance today than there was yesterday before the speech of the Senate going back to the Republicans.
There's so much more. The Mar-a-Lago situation, the Merrick Garland situation, the student loan payback plan. There's a lot of things that I would love to talk with you about. So hopefully we can get you back on the show very, very soon. Joe Pags, every night, 7 o'clock here on News Talk STL. Make sure you're listening. And Joe, thanks again so much for putting a little overtime and joining us this afternoon.
Well, thank you both, and keep up the great work. I love the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Joe Pags, great stuff. Stuff from him. And
he's just one of my favorites.
I know you love him.
I
know you
love him.
And it's perfect timing. You guys get off the air. You get off the air and you're driving home, and you're in the car at the perfect time to be listening to Joe. And so am I. And
this is something
if that's not your normal radio listening habits, make it your normal listening habits, because you'll really enjoy.
And I encourage everyone to follow him on his social media accounts, whether it be Twitter, on Facebook, on Getter. He's huge on Getter. If you're a TikToker, I am not, but if you are, he shares a lot of his content on TikTok and then on Twitter and Getter, he repurposes it. He is so hilarious and so much fun, and he has such a brilliant way of putting news into, a conservative lens. I think he is just wonderful. I'm so happy we got him on the show.
Another thing that I would encourage people to go out, and I was going to maybe read this on the air today, but we just don't have time to. But I highly recommend you go check this out. Senator Tim Scott gave the video response. He gave a Republican response last night. And I think you can find it on YouTube, a speech responding to the president. But today he put out, it was an op-ed. I read it on on Fox's website, but I think it's out there in other places as well. He wrote an opinion piece replying to all of the things that the president said yesterday.
Another
And
great
Senator
guy.
Tim Scott is one of those guys, like Tim Scott, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley. If I was in charge of the Republican Party, these are the people that I would be wanting to be front and center and
Totally.
leading the way. Tim Scott is beyond impressive to me, and it's a little bit long, and that's why I don't have time to read it on the air today, which is what I actually wanted to do. But man, it is really good. I highly recommend you go and you listen to what he said last night. You can find that on YouTube, or you can go and see what he wrote this morning as well in response to the president's speech, because he really makes the counter case for how wrong, how misguided, how hateful.
Oh, so hateful.
And what a divisive, dangerous path the country is on if you follow the words of the president last night.
What a crazy thing to see. What a crazy time to be alive, to know that if Donald Trump gave that speech, the vitriol, the rightful vitriol.
I'd be calling him out.
Me too.
I'd be calling him out.
But the acceptance from the left and Democrats of the speech that we heard last night is the most hypocritical, ironic, stupid thing I've ever heard.
Talking about how people on the right are calling for violence when we've seen it so much on the left, from all the way up to Nancy Pelosi, talking about how she was inspired by people's righteous anger when they were protesting, when they were invading Supreme Court justices' homes, and how Maxine Waters said, create a scene, throw these people out of restaurants. Don't let them be, if you see them in public, shout them down. Like, these are Democrats. That's a congresswoman. That's the Speaker of the House, high-level Democrats doing that. And he's saying that it's the Republicans doing it.
Insane.
And questioning the results of an election after 4 years of Hillary Clinton saying that the 2016 election was fraudulent. It was illegitimate. It was an illegitimate election. They did
an illegitimate president. That's what she said.
They did that for 4 years while Trump was in office. Stacey Abrams and Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, has said that the gubernatorial election in Georgia that Stacey Abrams was in was illegitimate. They have questioned elections for years. All of the things that the president was saying that Republicans do. And look, Republicans aren't saints, but when by far, there's plenty of things to go after the Republicans for. But when you're just laying it out there so dramatically and with such hate, and when you're so wrong, you can't help but put the spotlight directly on the president and call him out for these lies and just the dangerous path that he's put the country on. We're going to get back into a lot of these things in the 3 o'clock hour when we talk to Christian Daytalk. He's the White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner. He is at the White House today, so that's going to be great. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk to him a little bit after 3 o'clock. And in just a moment, we will get the Labor Day weekend forecast, because we all need a weekend in a big way. We'll talk to Chief Meteorologist from KMOV Channel 4, Steve Templeton, in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio. Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Like Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Colombo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Just had Brian Eggers from Eggers Heating and Air Conditioning here in studio with us Tuesday. Was that Tuesday, Kate? That was Tuesday's show. He joined us for a good chunk of the show. If you missed any of that conversation, go back and check it out on the podcast, because we always get great tips, great information from Brian, especially at this time of year when we are going into a change where you're going to be relying less on the air conditioner and sooner or later going to be turning on the furnace. Remember, Agers Heating and Air Conditioning is there for you. Doing right by the customer is their number one priority. So if you're having some problems here at the end of the year and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't need to address any air conditioner issues right now because we're almost through the year and I'll deal with it in the spring, that's a bad move because you don't want to let something that is an easy fix now turn into something that is a much larger, bigger problem in the spring. And if you do, when you turn on your furnace for that first time, if you're having any trouble, you need to call Agers immediately, whether it be repairs or replacement. Agers comes in and they diagnose the problem and they keep you 100% informed on exactly what's happening. And they present you the different options you have to go forward and address that situation. So you know exactly what's going on and you make the best decision for you, your home, your family, and your budget. Again, whether it be repairs or replacement, if you're having any trouble with your HVAC system, Agers HVAC is the place to call. Learn more on the website, callagers.com, AGERS, callagers.com.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Harry Woods music there on a Friday going into Labor Day weekend. What a busy Friday. Great conversation with Joe Pags in that last segment. Mark Harder from the St. Louis County Council started the show with us off the breaking news that Catherine Penner, who was the person that was the Republican nominee for St. Louis County Executive, has stepped out of that race. And now the Republican Party is going to have to find a replacement in very short order to take on Sam Page in the November election. Got a great update from Mark Harder about that situation. If you missed anything up to this point in the show, you never have to miss anything. Just download our podcast anywhere you get podcasts. The Colombo and Katie podcast is available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, all of those places. So make sure you are checking it out. Going to dive back into the news after the top of the hour news at 3:00 when we talk to Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner. We'll check in with him live from the White House and get all the latest fallout from the president's speech from him in just a few minutes. But we've never needed a weekend more than we need a weekend right now. And it's a big weekend because it's a holiday weekend. The all-important Labor Day weekend forecast. The great team over at Channel 4, the weather team there, joins us every Friday at this time to give us the weekend forecast. And Steve Templeton is with us once again. And we really appreciate your time, Steve. How's it going?
My pleasure. It's going good. Unfortunately, the forecast has gotten kind of worse and worse each day. A area of low pressure looks like it'll bring some rain. So,
all right,
just heads up. It won't rain all weekend, but there will be some showers.
Okay. All right. Well, what do we need to keep an eye out for?
Well, this evening we'll have a chance for some showers. I think the big question for the Cardinals game is, can we play through some light rain? And I'm hopeful we can. If it's light enough, we can maybe play through it. So, but expect for some showers this evening, and then tomorrow about a 50% chance, kind of off and on, anytime in the morning on into the evening. It's going to be a little cooler too because of the clouds and the off and on rain Saturday. So a high of just 81 degrees. Sunday's a 40% chance, more hit and miss, but still a chance for a shower, even an isolated storm. 83 for the high. And Monday, Labor Day, is a little lower, 30% chance, hit and miss shower, storm 84 for the high. So, warm, not too hot. It's going to be a little bit muggy this weekend. We'll just have to dodge some rain at times.
Is there one part of town that's a little more susceptible, that is a little more in the danger zone, north, south, east, west, or is it kind of an across the board thing?
It's a good question. I think the southern half of the St. Louis Metro is probably has a higher chance compared to, say, the northern half. So, if you're out in O'Fallon, Missouri, you have a little lower chance than, say, Arnold, because the rain chances are going to increase as you go south of I-70. But that's not to say we won't get some rain in Wentzville, O'Fallon as well. So
Right.
there is that chance at times. And it's not a front that's kind of moving through really quickly. So it's hard to say, like, okay, it's going to rain between 3 and 6, and then we're done. Unfortunately, it's a little more nebulous than that. It's a little more off and on showers that we're just going to have to keep an eye on.
And of course, a lot of families traveling, Table Rock Lake, Lake of the Ozarks. Is it, if you're staying, in that 2-3 hour window, is it about the same, or does it get a little better or worse if you go to some of these, nearby hot spots that people travel on the holidays?
The farther southwest you go, like go down to Table Rock, the better. You're kind of getting out of some of the rain zone. The rain's a little lower chance. It's a little higher chance, say, if you're going to Rend Lake in Illinois. A little lower chance as you go to the north, Mark Twain. So there's still going to be some showers at times to those lakes, but I think as you go maybe to Carlisle, Rend Lake, you're in the higher rain zone. You go out to Table Rock or Lake of the Ozarks, a little lower rain zone.
I feel like we've gotten really great weather and great, like not crazy highs, in the last last 10
Not
days
a lot of humidity.
of August. Like usually
Mhm.
the end of August is still pretty
Scorching.
rough, and
Mhm.
it hasn't been that way. Are we generally out of the woods as far as like the superheat is concerned, or is there still a chance of that popping up?
So, first of all, you're absolutely right that we've had this break, which is great. We've needed it. It was the 14th warmest summer on record and the 6th wettest summer on record.
Wow.
So we
Wow.
kind of
Interesting.
needed a little break. But going forward, we can still get pretty hot. I think chances for 100 degrees or hotter are really low. But when you get hot in September, it's typically like one day, maybe two, and it's usually like mid 90s or so. So I think the heat wave threat is pretty much done. And looking ahead to next week, I have highs in the mid to maybe touching upper 80s, like 85, 86, 87. That's not bad. We can handle that. Normal highs about 85 next week too. So I'm not saying the heat's completely behind us, but if it does creep up, it's probably going to be like a one-day thing.
Gotcha. Steve Templeton from Channel 4. Always really appreciate your Friday weekend forecast, especially going into a holiday weekend like this. Hopefully everybody gets some dry time to enjoy and unplug and enjoy this weekend. And we always appreciate the heads up and the information you guys give us, Steve. I hope you get a chance to enjoy the weekend a little bit too.
You too. Enjoy with your family.
Yeah.
Take care.
Will do.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Steve Templeton there from Campbell V, Channel 4, the chief meteorologist over there at Channel 4. Great stuff as always. All right. Time to go back to the White House and get some more fallout from the speech given by the president yesterday, and also get an update on other things happening. The latest surrounding Mar-a-Lago and the student loan payback bill. We will get into all of that with Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent. He'll join us next on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Oh, people, this is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Now is your chance to come and hear your Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft, at the iconic Turkish Pavilion in Tower Grove Park.
Hi, this is Mary Teresa McClain, Chair of the Republican Party, City of St. Louis. Come and enjoy free barbecue catered by St. Louis's own Sauce So Good Company at our annual picnic on Sunday, September 11th. It's a family-friendly event and children are more than welcome.
Hear from 9 local candidates as they share their vision for a better future, all while enjoying free barbecue and meeting other Republicans. Visit stlouisrepublicans.com for more details. Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
The Vic Porcelli Show. She's a great conservative author, film producer, Nina May.
And I keep telling my liberal friends, I say, you think you're going to escape this? No, this is exactly what totalitarian governments do. They start with the low-hanging fruit, and then they're going to go after you because they can't trust you. No, we're going to have to line you guys up against the wall and shoot you.
Wow. You have liberal friends?
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
So a lot of things happening in this crazy world. The market is also one of those things that is changing. But one thing that is still true for now is it is a great time to sell your home. But that window could close at any time. Don't let it close. If you've been thinking about selling your home, you need to call our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner at the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. You guys heard my personal experience. My wife and I were thrilled with the results that we got working with Rodney and Jen. They sold our house in record time for significantly more than we were asking for, and then helped us find the perfect new home. They were perfect for us, and they are just the best, and the numbers show it. So if you've been thinking about selling your home, do not wait. Don't let the window close. Call the Wallners now, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. America's employers slowed their hiring in August. The government reported the economy added 315,000 jobs last month. That's down from 526,000 in July and below the average gain for the previous 3 months. CFRA Research Chief Investment Strategist Stam Soval says the jobs report may lead to Federal Reserve members to be less aggressive in boosting interest rates.
It's a reason for investors to breathe a sigh of relief because even though the expected number was about 300,000, investors remembered that they were surprised last month with a much stronger reading. And again, they were concerned that this would be stronger as well, giving the Fed additional reason to tighten aggressively when they meet again later this month.
The unemployment rate rose to 3.7% from 3.5% in July. Also at townhall.com, as Americans hit the road this Labor Day holiday weekend, there's some good news and bad news concerning gas prices.
Gas is down to $3.80 a gallon today, but that's still 62 cents higher than a year ago. Prices are highest in the West, $5.24 in California, lowest in the South and parts of the Midwest, $3.30 in Arkansas, says the AAA.
Correspondent Rita Foley. The CDC endorsing updated COVID-19 boosters. That opens the way for a fall vaccination campaign that could blunt a winter surge if enough Americans roll up their sleeves. Fighting between Russian and Ukrainian forces continues to rage near Europe's biggest nuclear power plant in a Russian-held area of eastern Ukraine. Experts there trying to prevent even the slightest leak of radioactive material. The Dow closing down 327 points, the NASDAQ off 154. More at townhall.com.
Hey, Dennis Prager here with some information on a new product that's quite fascinating for staying healthy, Cofix RX. Everybody's been in the situation, the person next to you is sniffling or even coughing. Wouldn't it be great if you had a way to minimize airborne viral threats? To reduce your chance of getting hurt, you wear a safety belt when you're driving, and to limit sun damage, you wear sunscreen on the beach. Cofix is just like that. Cofix is a providone iodine-based antiviral nasal spray that helps keep you protected from airborne viruses. With Cofix RX nasal spray, you'll target colds, flus, and other viruses right where they breed, in your nasal cavity. Cofix RX should be in everyone's pocket, purse, or medicine cabinet. Visit Cofix RX, that's COFIXRX.com, for a doctor, pharmacy, or health food retailer near you. or use the coupon code Prager for 20% off at cofixrx.com.
President Biden and Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo announcing $1 billion in federal grants for manufacturing, clean energy, farming, biotech, and other sectors. The president says the grants will provide money nationwide for helping workers transition to a changing economy.
This American Rescue Plan program invests $1 billion, a total of $3 billion, but $1 billion to create jobs and opportunity for people in places where they live and where they've worked their entire career so they don't have to leave.
The government chose the winners from 529 applicants that vied for grants that were part of a $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package. Tropical storm Danielle strengthening into a hurricane early this morning, the first of an unusually quiet storm season. The storm is not currently a threat to any land. Breaking news at townhall.com. Australia making changes to its immigration program.
Australia announces that it will increase its permanent immigration intake by 35,000 to 195,000 as it grapples with skills and labor shortages. Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill announced the increase for the year ending June 30th, 2023, during a two-day summit of 140 representatives of governments, trade unions, businesses, and industry. O'Neill says many of the best and brightest minds are choosing to migrate to Canada, Germany, and Britain instead of Australia. She described Australia's immigration program as fiendishly complex, with more than 70 unique visa programs. She says Australia will establish a panel to rebuild its immigration program in the national interest. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Another check on Wall Street. The Dow closed down 337 points today. The S&P was off 42. More of these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. A little pesky area of low pressure is a little stronger than anticipated. It's why we have higher rain chances and cooler temperatures going into the holiday weekend. So there is going to be a chance for a few light showers this evening and then 50% chance for some scattered rain, maybe isolated thunder on Saturday. Low of 67 and a high of just 81. A lot of clouds and good chance for a few showers at times. That's why it's a cooler day Saturday. Sunday, 83 for the high of 40% chance for a few showers. 30% chance on Monday, Labor Day, with a high of 84. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Friday Fun Time on Colombo and Katie. Brought to you by All Solutions Pest Control. 636-486-7888. Or visit them at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Speaking of Friday fun time and maybe just a little Labor Day weekend fun time, what a perfect time to be out grilling. And of course, if you're going to be grilling, you need to be using the best charcoal available. And that, of course, is Rockwood Lump Charcoal. It's the best for so many reasons. It checks all the boxes. You are supporting a local business. You're supporting local industry because the state of Missouri is the #1 charcoal maker in the country. And you're using the best product. Rockwood Lump Charcoal has been ranked the #1 consumer ranked charcoal across the country for several years running now. And if you haven't used it yet, you don't know what you're missing. Lump Charcoal, just a better product in general. Burns a lot cleaner, burns a lot faster, gives you more control of not only the temperature and cooking, but it also gives you more control of the taste and what exactly how you want your meat or whatever you're grilling to taste like, and all the different spices or whatever you're going to put into it. Rockwood Lump Charcoal is available at over 100 area stores. You can find the closest one to you, plus pick up some grilling tips and tricks all at rockwoodcharcoal.com. That's rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hard work and endurance moved him up in the corner.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here, my partner Katie Fitzpatrick there. One more segment to go before we hand things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. who will then guide you to your Labor Day weekend on this crazy busy Friday afternoon. We had the local headline, local breaking news of the day that Catherine Penner, who was the Republican nominee for St. Louis County Executive, has officially dropped out of that race. We talked to St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder at the beginning of the show to get an update from him on that situation. I'm sure Tim and Chris will be talking about that. You can also, of course, go back and hear what Mark had to say by listening to our podcast or grabbing one of our live streams from Facebook or Rumble or YouTube. But good information there. And then, of course, all of the fallout and reaction to the president's speech last night. And that makes today the perfect day to be joined by White House correspondent Christian Daytok from the Washington Examiner, a regular on this show. We talk to him every week, and sometimes it just works out that the day we talk to him is the absolute perfect day to have him on. And with everything, all the reaction, all the fallout, all the buzz around the Capitol, perfect day to have Christian on with us. So always appreciate your time, my friend. How's it going?
I'm great, Tony. Good to be back with you guys to round out the week, heading into the long weekend. And yeah, you're right. It's been a busy one here this past week in DC.
What's the overall vibe right now around the White House? I mean, is obviously everybody on the right is up in arms
fuming.
about fuming about the president's speech last night. Politicians and media on the left scrambling to cover for the president and defend what he said. Is the mood around the Capitol as chaotic as it is in the media today?
I'm not sure about chaotic. If anything, I'd say excited. To be honest, this has probably been, again, coming off the last strong month for President Biden, the most Democrats have had to celebrate over the past nearly 2 years now. And again, when you think back on the elections, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about how terribly the economy was doing, what was happening at the border. But now that Democrats and President Biden in particular are sort of flipping the script and making this more about Trump and the MAGA crowd, I think they're starting to get recollections of 2020 and saying, oh, maybe we can hold on to one, if not both of these majorities. So I think quiet energy is the way I describe the feeling around the White House right now. Again, folks on the other side of the file, I think, are similarly energetic, just in a little bit more of a angry and affronted way, considering how the president's been attacking them over the past few days.
Yeah, attacking is the right word. And as I mentioned earlier, I am no big Trump supporter. I would rather see somebody else run. I'd rather Trump not run, not be the face of the party in 2024. But and President Biden yesterday tried to say, "Oh, I'm only attacking the the Trump sycophants and the ultra MAGA," but I certainly felt targeted, and I'm not neither a Republican or a Democrat. I voted Libertarian in the last presidential election, but I certainly felt like the president hates me because I don't agree with any of the things he was talking about. I don't agree with any of the policies that he has been throwing out there. And I certainly felt like he thinks that I'm part of the problem, and he doesn't like people that don't go along with what he's putting out there. So being that as it may, is there any sense from the White House's point of view, from what you can gather, do they feel like they stuck the landing yesterday? The president delivered a great speech and hit a home run, and this is the rallying cry going forward? Or has there been any walking back or clarification? Have they been on the defensive at all about last night, or are they going forward with the idea of, man, the president smashed it last night and he laid out clearly the path that we're on?
Well, to start the day, I do think there was that sort of victorious feeling. You just look at Ron Klain, the chief of staff, his Twitter feed, and clearly there are a lot of folks on the right, whether they're anti-Trump Republicans or establishment Democrats or uber progressive Democrats. There was a lot of retweeting and celebrating. But as we moved through the day, especially once the press briefing came up, and you had folks, certainly who I would say don't work for conservative outlets, places like CNN or the New York Times, vocally talking about, I know you guys think that President Biden drew the line between Republicans and MAGA Republicans, but the blowback is very real. What's your reaction to that? And hearing Karine Jean-Pierre try and explain, well, we don't think that regular Republicans should be offended. I don't think they understand just quite what these attacks are, or how they're playing in red states and in red areas, whether or not you're a Trump supporter or not. So I don't really think that this is going to be that big of a deal this election cycle in November. Let's not forget, everything he's saying right now is meant to, bump up Democratic voter turnout. That being said, come 2024, there's a lot of folks in the middle of where the president currently sits and former President Trump, where he will be campaigning. And these attacks, I think, will be not so self-serving come 2024, because a lot of people are going to be feeling the feelings you just talked about, Tony.
Christian, not only are we seeing Jean-Pierre double down on what President Biden said last night, but she's also trying to make a case that the speech was not political. I'm wondering if you can comment on that a little bit, because I know you and your colleagues were all asking her, how could that be? How could you say this wasn't political?
That's all it was.
And I wanted to get your reaction to what she has said several times that wasn't a political speech.
I think her reaction is telling. To be honest, I almost feel for Karine in this situation, because President Biden really put her in an indefensible, position. But let's be honest, you can't say a speech isn't political when the person delivering it ends it with, go out and vote out Republicans. It doesn't matter who you're voting for. Just, do what I'm saying in the upcoming election.
Yes.
So that's a real point of disconnect. And look, Karine can try and spin it all she wants, but this is like, that old, again, the CNN commercial where they trotted out the banana and they're talking about, oh, this is an apple. Is it a banana? No, your eyes tell you what something is. And again, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, then it's probably a political speech delivered less than 90 days out from the election.
And how about that setting, Christian? Like, I know that reporters probably don't want to waste their question asking about a stage setup at a press briefing, but has anybody addressed that presentation last night?
The ominous.
That was very Ministry of Truth, authoritarian. I likened it to Star Wars Sith Lord color scheme there. Yeah. Any comments from anybody about the look of the stage last night?
The lighting didn't come up specifically. And again, I think this is one of those things where the advance team had an idea and it just didn't play out the way they thought it would.
Sure didn't.
I don't think it was a great look personally, but I will say a couple of my colleagues in the briefing today asked about the Marines that were present behind President Biden, because I think that's actually the more important point. This wasn't at the White House. This wasn't at any of the federal buildings in D.C. Those Marines had to be brought there, and they were essentially used as a prop for this very extremely politically charged speech. And, I want to say it was Joey Garrison from USA Today who made the point, look, we called out the Trump administration countless times for essentially doing this, using the military as a prop for an explicitly political statement. How is this different from what former President Trump was doing?
And it's against the
Karine
rules,
really
right?
didn't have an explanation.
It's technically it's against the rules. Am I right about that? You're not supposed to do that.
It would be against the rule. The rule book is probably not what it is in 2022 compared to heading into the 21st century.
Sure.
The Hash Act is effectively washed off the board whenever the president is involved. But again, if this was a different scenario, again, this is a historical building, but if this was, President Biden using Marines at, say, like a closed door DNC, appearance or something like that, that would certainly be a breach of conduct and something that I would imagine Republicans in Congress would file ethics complaints over. But at the least, it's just, it's almost really the pot calling the kettle black. This is explicitly this administration doing something that the last administration was hammered for, and I think rightfully so.
I didn't know hypocrisy or gaslighting could get any worse in politics in 2022, but just across the board, I thought the president raised the bar in both of those areas. And I'm glad we brought up that Marines thing, because I did that story. I don't remember, Katie. I did a story earlier this week about the president using the Marine Corps band at a political rally, essentially, and how there were reports from the Marines, from the military, that they were uncomfortable because you're not supposed to be flaunting the military power that the president holds in campaign rallies. And this is now the second time that he's done it this week, and probably the 100th time that he's done it in his presidency. And I know, like, Christian, you make a good point that Donald Trump did it too, and probably the cat's out of the bag on that one. But I think it's at least worth mentioning, because it was very intentional, and whether they missed their mark or not, they were going for something with the optics last night. And, there was no accident that there were Marines involved in that picture. Only a couple minutes left here with Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner. Does it seem like the Democrats, did they believe, because I've never seen a more divisive, hateful speech given by a president. And he can say that he's only targeting a small percentage of Republicans, but that speech is not the kind of speech that's going to get anybody to cross over, any fringe Republicans to cross over. Do they believe, as far as you could tell, or, the message, the vibe from the White House, do they believe that if they just target enough Democrats, if they can just motivate their base, rally Democrat voters, that's all it takes to win? Because that's the only thing that I can see as being the motivation of this speech, is that they feel like they have enough Democrat voters and they just need to motivate them and get them out of their house to vote on election day, because I don't see how that reached across the aisle to get one single person. Is that the strategy that the Democrats seem to be going forward with?
That seems to be at least the tactics that President Biden is going forward with. I'm not sure if the DNC specifically is happy about how he's doing this, but I do think this makes a pretty distinct shift in the messaging from the White House. I mean, probably to the chagrin of a lot of progressive Democrats, President Biden has spent most of his presidency trying to be a uniter, trying to pass legislation with bipartisan support. And I think that this shows that strategy is out the window. I think you're right, Tony. There's not really any going back from the tone of last night, especially, again, with the idea that this is only going to get more charged as Biden goes around the country and makes similar remarks in all these different communities. I'm not sure how many people actually tuned in last night outside of the political bubble. But again, when the president shows up in your community, whether you're in rural Ohio or on the West Coast, a lot of these towns that don't see a lot of political visitors, you take note of what he says. And if it's what the president said last night, I think you're right. They're not going to be pulling any of those moderate Republicans or independents over come the election season.
So before we let you go, I want to just get a little bit of an idea of what's next. What path the president seems to be on, what path the Democrats seem to be on, as far as, and maybe it's just messaging at this point, or if there are any other big policy announcements or moves that are being teed up. Of course, we just saw the student reduction plan laid out over the last couple of weeks. That's been the big one. The president touched on some issues last night and some plans for the future. But do we expect the White House and the Democrats to be laying out any other specific plans or taking any other specific actions over the next couple of weeks? What are the next steps, as far as at least have been given to the press from the White House, that this administration is taking?
There are a few upcoming events this fall, conferences and whatnot, both in D.C. and abroad that President Biden is going to be taking part in. One is the White House Conference on Health, Nutrition, and Food Access. This is the first time this one's been held in about 50 years. But what you heard last night is what you're going to get over the next 90 days, Tony. The reality of the situation is Democrats won't want to move on any of their more controversial legislation to sort of insulate some of those members who might be up for election who are more vulnerable than, say AOC or folks in extremely blue areas. All focus is on holding on to those majorities. So they're not going to put anyone in a position to actually have to vote on something that could have political blowback. Now, I do think the White House is still pushing to get another round of COVID funding. They just asked Congress this afternoon for about $13.7 billion in joint COVID and Ukraine funding. I would be pessimistic if I had to, put a grade on it or predict the probability that this gets passed before November. But that, if anything, is all the White House is trying to move on before the election on November 4th.
What a combination, Bill. COVID and Ukraine. Great stuff, as always. Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner. Really appreciate your time each and every week here with us on News Talk STL and on Colombo and Katie. Hope you are able to enjoy a little bit of your Labor Day weekend, my friend, and we will talk to you again next week.
Take care, y'all.
You bet. Christian Daytalk there from the Washington Examiner, at Talk Radio, at TOC Radio on Twitter. If you want to keep up with Christian, you can also read his articles on the Washington Examiner website and our website, newstalkstl.com. All right.
Whew.
That's
Heavy show.
Man.
Heavy show.
I promise a double dose of Friday Fun Time next week after a crazy Friday today as we lead into this Labor Day holiday weekend. We will keep an eye on everything that happens for you over the weekend, and Katie and I will be back live in studio on Tuesday at 2:00. But don't go anywhere, because the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show is coming in next. They will get you through the rest of your Friday afternoon and get you to that holiday weekend. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com.
St. Louis's place to talk. The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL.